Well, good evening, everybody. It's me, Mitch, and I'm ready. Here I am. As you can see, let me go and get rid of that, and let me get rid of that streaming banner, and I'll let you see my face. How are y'all? Good to see you. 48 of you so far. Wow. Pretty good. The early crowd. Well, here it is, Tuesday night again. Good to see you. Let me get my quick disclaimer out of the way. I'm not a doctor. I can't give you medical advice. You know, I'm only telling you what I did, what worked for me. If you want to do it, feel free. And I hope that makes the lawyers and the Karens happy. Been an interesting week. I have been getting a lot of comments on my little Monday morning rants, which, quite frankly, I really enjoy. I really enjoy, and the number of unsubscribers I seem to be getting is going down, and that troubles me. Maybe I'm just not offending enough people. I try. I'll do better, I promise. But I started this Monday morning thing. Grab a cigar, a cup of coffee, go out, sit on the couch outside if the weather's nice, and just talk about stuff on my mind. And I did the fourth one of those this week. And over the past month, I've been deciding whether I wanted to make that a regular thing or if people would get tired. Now, don't get me wrong. There's not nearly as much interest in that kind of a video from me because I guess people just don't give a shit what an old fart thinks, and there's nothing going to be useful in there for them, like how to clean an air fryer or some other such hot topic. But I am getting a lot of interest, and I get an enormous amount of comments from people, and most of them are very flattering and very accepting. And so I am getting that message across. The primary message of the past 4 weeks has been none of us has the right to tell any of the other of us what they have to do or what they must do or command us to do anything or insult us. Civility. So the uncivilized, I think, are weeding themselves out, and I've decided I'm going to continue doing it on Monday mornings and trying to come up with something interesting to talk about other than just how to cook meat and not eat carbs. And we'll see how it goes. And if I get to the point where nobody watches anymore, I'll stop doing it. But even though I do those things in the morning, I don't get them edited, and it doesn't pay for me to release them before early to mid-afternoon. So they'll be coming out sometime, generally 2 o'clock, 2:30 on Mondays. And if I happen to have another video in the can, I might release that a couple hours later. I've been managing to keep up with the at least one a day and a couple of live streams. So that's what happens when you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And it seems like things have really picked up this week. The number of views have been incredible, and it's all because I think people just want to see me in the kitchen cooking. I don't know about that. I picture myself in a big professorial type of lecture hall, standing behind the podium giving lectures, but it seems like most of my viewers would rather see me pushing the buttons on an air fryer and talking about practical things, the how-to stuff. So I'm trying to get that out, and that leads me to the subject of air fryers, because that's been basically the hot topic this whole week has been air fryers. Now, as most of you know, about 5 months ago or 6 months ago, I discovered this Z-Star air fryer, and it was inexpensive. When I first found it on Amazon, it was $119. And it looked really good, and I figured, well, for $119, that's almost a throwaway. That's a package of 3 or 4 ribeyes at Costco, for God's sakes. It's $100 anymore. So I bought one, and I really fell in love with the thing. I made a few videos on it, and people, I put up my Amazon link, and people bought a considerable number of those things. I'd like to take credit for running the world out of stock on them. I don't think it was just me, but about three months in, Amazon ran out, and I started getting comments from all you guys saying, trying to find that Z-Star, and it's unavailable. So it kept popping up on Amazon under different names and different links and different vendors. So I kept changing the link, trying to keep track of following it around so that people could find it. And then finally it just disappeared, where you couldn't even get a search result for it. So I went looking at all the different air fryers that were out there. And the thing about the Z-Star that I like is the fact that it is a grill, that the lid lifts up. Because I have a couple of those Kasori basket type air fryers, and while they work great and everything, they're incredibly hard to clean up in and around the motor, and you got to turn it over and you got to work through the plate, the hole where the basket goes. And I like the idea that the lid lifted up. I like the idea that it had a grill plate in there that you could preheat and put some grill marks on a steak or some burgers. And I found this Ninja one. It was a little more expensive, but it had a built-in thermometer. So I thought, well, I guess that's worthwhile. So I started recommending it to people as an alternative to the Z-Star. After a couple months, the Z-Star came back in stock, and I think it was back in stock for about 2 weeks. I started getting emails from you guys saying, hey, I found the Z-Star, I found another one. And so I went and put it back on Amazon and put the link back up and said, okay, if you want a Z-Star, they're available now, but I don't guarantee how long they're going to be available. And sure enough, after about 2 weeks, they were unavailable again. And this was about 2 months ago. Couldn't find them anywhere. And I finally just decided that I'm just going to put up on my website that this air fryer is no longer available. And I would recommend that you buy the Ninja. And I recommended the Ninja based solely on all of the comments that I got from you, having bought it instead of the air fryer, telling me it's a great air fryer and you really like it and it works good. And I didn't hear any complaints about it. So I felt comfortable recommending it. Well, I decided a couple of weeks ago, I said, I don't do sponsorship stuff. I don't sell things for people. I only recommend what I use. And for me, it was a matter of integrity. I said, you know what, I'm going to buy one. So, and I'm going to really run it through the ringer, because I don't want to be embarrassed when people tell me, hey, that air fryer you recommended was a piece of garbage. So I bought one with my money, and it came in, and if you've been following my channel, I put out 2 videos where I've cooked with it, and tomorrow I'm going to cook a steak from frozen, which to me is one of the best tests of an air fryer. But so far, I'm not disappointed with the thing. The one thing I like about it over the Z-Star is the grill plate is much heavier. It's a solid casting, and I think it gets much hotter because the grill marks on my hamburgers were better than I would get in the Z-Star. The chicken wings came out pretty much equal. The Z-Star did a great job with those panko pork rind crumb coated, I hate to use the word breaded, gets me in trouble like everything else. And I think, and I have to do a little more research, but I heard somebody mention that instead of having a non-stick type of coating, which everybody tells me is poisonous and it's going to kill me, and I shouldn't recommend it to people because of that. This Ninja looks to be ceramic coated. It's a much shinier, smoother surface, and I think that if it's even for as often as you throw something on that grill, if it's even a consideration or something to worry about, that might be a plus as well. So I guess that some people are ordering that thing. I'm looking forward to hearing the comments. I've been getting some comments. The people like it. They say it works real well, cooks good. I got to tell you, those chicken wings that I made yesterday were as good as I've ever had. I once a week I eat those things, and about half the time I cook them with I just put the I just put a little salt on them and throw them in there with no coating. But I thought I would see what that thing did to the, and I keep using the word breading. And every time I use the word breading, I do get a comment. I get a comment. I thought you were carnivore. Carnivores aren't supposed to eat bread. Well, and don't you know that I've got a couple of them in the past couple days? But I don't, breading to me is a generic term. So I think it's going to work out, and I'm real happy with it. I still have my Z Star. No, I don't want to give it away or sell it. I want to keep it. I also have a fairly expensive Cuisinart toaster oven air fryer thing, if you've seen those. And I haven't used it probably almost a year because you can't, it's made out of stainless steel. Every piece of it is stainless steel. The inside is lined with stainless steel. You can't clean that thing. It's a day's work to clean it in and around and up in the top, and and then get all that stuff soaked off of the stainless steel grills and pans and everything. And it's sitting on the floor in a spare bathroom of mine right now. I don't like to give it away because it was expensive. The one with all the digital controls. I had replaced it with a Kasori with a basket, and I used that for a long time until I found that Z Star. But I think we're zeroing in on it. And the reason I'm talking so much about air fryers is I give a lot of thought. I give a lot of thought to how easy carnivore is and how much more sustainable it can be for people because it's easy if they discover all the little tricks and shortcuts to make it easy. And because we're cooking at home just about all the time living this lifestyle. Coming from a world where cooking at home was becoming more rare every day. Some people I know have these big houses, huge houses with these gorgeous, fabulous kitchens that the wife sweated blood over decorating and picking just the perfect appliances, all this heavy-duty stainless steel restaurant-looking natural gas stuff, big ovens and big range hoods. I mean, look, commercial-looking, gorgeous, fabulously expensive cabinets, and they have these huge houses with these beautiful kitchens, and they never cook. Never, ever cook anything. They microwave a few things, and they go out to eat in restaurants. And yet that kitchen was very important. Most of us don't have big, fabulous kitchens like that. We have little kitchens. And we cook. I've never cooked so much in my life, especially being a bachelor. And I have always been trying to make it simpler. And Sandra McDonald, Mitch has just done an appliance graveyard giveaway. I'll tell you, you're not too far off. I did that video a few months ago about emptying out my cupboards of all those different food processors and other junk that I had accumulated, vegetable choppers and spiral cutters and spaghetti makers for zucchini and all that stuff. I gave all that away. But I'm beginning to think, I'm really beginning to think that to cook virtually anything, you need 2 or 3 things tops in your kitchen as far as pots and pans and appliances. You need a frying pan of some sort. I have 2 of them because I have a carbon steel that I use for meat, for steaks and burgers, and then I have the ceramic coated nonstick that I use for bacon and eggs, pretty much primarily, and an air fryer. And if you have an air fryer, you can cook anything. You can bake in it. Not that we bake anything, but you can do anything with it. So this air fryer, and I think we all know Dante from Ferrigno Freedom. He started the Lion Diet thing a few years ago, and his his whole thing was about cooking everything in his air fryer. I mean, he went on to try different ones, and I think he got one of those Dreo Chef Maker things in the very beginning. I think they sponsored him or something. But I'm beginning to realize that just that one appliance of a good all-purpose air fryer combination grill is so important to make this easy and simple. When you think of what a vegan or a vegetarian has to go through and how many hours a day they have to spend chopping and weighing and 50 different ingredients to make one salad, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. So I have been concentrating for that reason on talking about air fryers, and I'll cook a few more things in this new Ninja, and then I'll make a video about cleaning it, because a lot of people have asked me about cleaning it. So I will actually clean it in public, see if I can't figure out a really easy and fast way to clean that thing. So that's probably more than you want to ever know about air fryers. Let me have a sip of my coffee and then start saying hello to you guys. We have 109 of you here. That's great, from all over the place. MK says Dante is sprinting. Good for him. Good for him. He, like most other people that I see on YouTube, are much younger than me. I'm still doing my little workouts and I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. But let me roll this chat back to the beginning here and say hello to a few people. I see Jody Drone Shots was here first. How you doing, Jody? Jerry Bell. Hey, meet people. Jerry's always first one in. We have Paul McGregor. Tip of the hat to everyone, he says. Donna Couture. How you doing, Donna? Says hello to me. And Naruto-kun. I love it that you guys come back every week. I actually recognize most of the names, and that's great. That's great. Hello, everyone. Mitch, my cigar-smoking friend and carnivore nutritionist. Thank you, Naruto. I appreciate that. Robert Warist, how you doing? How you doing? And then Michael Pregler. Hiya, Mike. How you doing? Missed you last Thursday, but I understand. Good evening to you. And we did. I had a great day. Julie Atkins from Alabama. How you doing? And Kathy McGinnis. Hey, Mitch. And Mkai. I love that. Mkai. From Minnesota. How you doing? Linda Price is here. Dana, is it Kretz? Yeah. Loving your tunes. Hey, I gave you guys a little treat tonight. After the jazz, I thought I'd treat you to a little of my egg beating music. A little classical music there, and I thought I might inject some taste and culture into what otherwise is a live stream that might lack taste and culture, but I hope you enjoyed that. If you don't like it, tell me. I won't do it again. I won't do it again. But, you know, the music, I don't know where it comes from. It's a funny phenomenon. Generally only starts playing when I'm beating eggs or lighting a cigar. And I mean, I don't start it. I don't turn it on. It's just like when the fork hits the side of the glass when I start to beat the music, that classical music starts playing. When I click my lighter, it just starts up. And if I want to go look and see where it's coming from and I stop beating my eggs, the music stops. I'm saying that because I thought that would be a funny bit. I thought it would be a funny bit. I might just do it because, you know, you guys, I have a lot more people view these things, but I think it would be funny that if I was beating my eggs and stopped and the music stopped and then I started and the music started and I went looking in cabinets and things, I thought that would be a funny little routine. Y'all probably think would be corny. Jennifer from Texas, how you doing? Hi, Mitch, how you doing? She says hello to everybody. Mike K from Arizona. Hi, Mike. Andrew H is here. You know that all the people who show up in green are members of and supporters of my channel. I appreciate all of you. And we have our live stream on Thursday night. Vicky Y is here, says hi. Rosie Red, hi Rosie, how you doing? Rosie wants to have this dance. My arms aren't that long, Rosie, but you're not that far away. Then we can eat meat. Cool. Mike K, I get chicken wings thawing for tomorrow. Those things, I hope you all heard the crunch that they made when I bit into them, because they came out just great. And that coating was not burnt at all. It was a nice golden brown, and the things were juicy as hell. So I've made them into Z-Star. They've come out the same way. It's a great recipe, and I do a number of other things with that pork rind coating. I make fried shrimp. I mix it up in salmon cakes, and I'm wondering if there's a way that if I try doing the salmon cakes in the air fryer instead of frying them in a pan full of bacon grease. I don't know about that. I think they need the chicken and the skin has the grease in it, but the salmon cakes don't have enough fat in them, I think, to do it that way. I might experiment one day. Tammy Pitarch, how you doing? Good to see you. Richard Williams from Copper Hill, Tennessee is always here. Nikki Duncan, Coco, how you doing? The Dog Lover. Wendy Lemons, how you doing, Wendy? Carnivore in 24, hey, how you doing? Jonathan Bags Pack Family, good to see you. And who's new here? Viking. Richard CDL driver from Chicago. How you doing? Good to see you. Coco said hi to you. Carnivore and 20 got you. I saw Zen Carnivore go by in the chat. If you don't know who he is, and I don't know where it is. I'm looking for it here. You get so many things go by in the chat, but Zen Carnivore just joined the private community, and he is somebody I've been emailing with. He started a new YouTube channel called Zen Carnivore. Interesting guy. His name is Evan, and I forget what city he's in, but he's up north somewhere, and he's a young rabbi. He's a young rabbi. And I've watched his videos so far, and he's doing a good job. He's doing a good job, and I think we're probably going to get together for an interview one of these days. But I was really surprised and pleased to see that he joined the channel, and so a new video of his pops up on my YouTube feed today about whether carnivore is bad for the heart. I start watching it, and I get a shout out from him, and all of a sudden there is me on his video saying, take the rest of the day off and eat meat. So Evan, I got a big charge out of that. I got to tell you, that was really nice of you to do that. Except he called me old man carnivore instead of old guy carnivore, so I need to straighten him out a little bit on that. But other than that, that's where we are. Let's see. Who haven't I said hello to? Iron Ranger's here. How you doing? Paisana, the king of air fryers. LOL, he says. Juan, Kurgan 60. How you doing, my friend? We got to know each other pretty well last Thursday night in the live stream. Nice guy. The Z-Star is advertised as smokeless. Yes, I've never had a smoke problem from that thing, and I haven't had any smoke coming from the Ninja yet either. I do put them on my glass cooktop underneath the hood, but unlike smoke coming off a frying pan, I don't see it, not a drop of smoke. So I think they can advertise it as smokeless and not be too misleading in that. Let's see what else. There's Mitch needs to have a garage sale. Appliance giveaway. The Cuisinart, yeah, I can see that mine smokes so bad when we have a grill day only policy. Juan says all you need is a big pan and a fork. Boyd Lamb, how you doing, Boyd? Good to see you. He says, I just watched a new Bart K video reacting to the new Director of Nutrition and Wellness, Miss Piggy. You talking about the gal from the American Diabetes Association? Boyd, I think that's who you're talking about. I think that Sean Baker also made a short little blip about her. And you're right. This is a woman that works for the American Diabetes Association that is telling everybody how to eat sugar and how to take more insulin. And she's, in all outward appearances, extremely metabolically unhealthy. I mean, I hate to be, I don't want to run around being judgmental and pointing to people and screaming at them, you're fat, you're sick, but you can't help what you think. And when you go into a hospital or a doctor's office or any place where there's just a lot of medical professionals and you see that 80% of them are obviously unhealthy, how can you take advice from these people? How can you take dietary advice from a 300-pound doctor that's taking 12 different medications himself? I don't know. Viking 442, thank you so much. You ordered a Z-Star. Rachel Moore says hi to everybody. And what the hell happened to Evan? I thought I could have sworn I saw a comment from him earlier. Zen Carnivore. Well, I hope to have him in Thursday night, so we'll see. Wellman 867, thanks for your video showing your pantry. Yeah, that was an older one. I'm starting to get a ton of views on those old videos. I can't believe it. Some of them have just shot up. I wish I could figure out how YouTube actually works so I could adjust things accordingly, but I just can't figure it out. Well, if you guys have questions for me, put them in the chat. I don't have a lot of prepared things for tonight. I don't have a lot to talk about, and I haven't done it because I usually never get to it. I'm thinking about having a kind of a section on the show called the stupid comments. And I've gotten some silly stuff, not maddening things, not things that bother me, but things that just make you want to say, duh, because it's incredible. And so many of them are people and I think they're well-meaning. I think they want to try to give me advice on what I need to do that I'm not doing or doing wrong to help me. And if that's the motive, that's, I can't find any fault with that. You'd think, I think anyway, when I read some of these comments, that these people obviously are unaware of most everything we talk about, or they would never have made the comment they made. And I would say that if you know what you're doing, by all means, tell me. I don't know it all. But if you don't know what you're doing, don't correct me. Don't tell me what I need to be doing. You guys are a riot. I'm kind of glancing at the chat here. Anyway, I got a couple of them on my cell phone here that I kind of paraphrased, and I thought I'd let you know what a day in the life of me is because I do read all the comments, and it takes a great part of my day to read and answer these things. One woman came on. You know, if you've seen the thing I did on Monday, where I went off on the Karen routine, and we all know what I was talking about, and I don't have any idea why they decided to call these type of people Karens. And it's kind of an asexual connotation because men can be just as much a Karen as a woman. But I was chastised by a commenter for being slightly sexist because I did not come up with a name to give to a male Karen so that I could refer to not just Karen, but I was supposed to say Ken and Karen or something like that. So I got chastised and called sexist because how dare I just talk about women, and I wasn't. I had another woman yelled at me. She yelled at me because in case you didn't know, I put a post up, but yesterday I get 2 comments from people who said Amazon's got the Z-Star air fryer again. Meanwhile, I'm busy making Ninja air fryer videos because nobody can find this stupid air star. I had looked the day before for it and wasn't available. So I said, that's it, we're done. There's never going to be any more Z-Stars. So, I bought one of the Ninjas so I could check it out and make sure I was recommending something worth owning. And so sure enough, as soon as I start making videos about this thing, Amazon gets some of the Z-Stars back in stock. And I can always count on a warning from you guys. Oh, Donna. Yeah, that's right, Donna. Donna sent me the thing. Absolutely right, Donna. And I love that thing, and I've been recommending it. And as soon as you sent me that, a couple hours later, when I got back to the computer, I made the post in the community tab and said, if you still want one of these Z-Stars, they're available. And they were at like $137 and change, which is about $40 cheaper than the Ninja. I don't know if the Ninja is worth $40 more, but the way I look at these appliances, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, the cost of these appliances is negligible compared to the cost of the food that we cook in them and can potentially ruin in them. So anything that helps you cook more accurately with better temperature control and better timing and digital thermometers so that you never overcook a steak is going to save you a lot of money. And my average trip to Sam's Club buying meat is $200 to $300. And I do that a couple times a month probably. So when I spend $130, $140, $150 on a kitchen tool, if it lasts a year and then it breaks and I throw it away and get a new one, I'm tickled to death. It was cheap. It was $3-4 a week to guarantee that I have a convenient, accurate, and fast way to cook my food. I don't look at these things as lifetime investments. I look at them like I look at cell phones and computers and things like that. The technology keeps changing. They keep making advances in these things. They keep making them better. So it's almost, and I hate to say that because a lot of people are really struggling with money, and I don't want them to think I'm being arrogant, but it's almost throwaway money. It's like when you go into Costco or Sam's Club and you buy that brand new 70-inch flat screen TV for $499, and they want to sell you a 3-year warranty contract on it for another $100 and some dollars. I say no. Well, what if it breaks? I say, they'll throw it away and get another one. They can't fix them anyway. They can replace them, but when it's time to replace a TV, the new TVs have advanced so far. What do you want with a used version or a remanufactured version of the old one you had that broke? That's just me. I've always been that way with. I look at them as consumables and expendables, and I do the same with pans. That $30 Mueller ceramic coated pan that I use for my bacon and eggs. After a year, it discolors a little bit. I put it away and get a new one. I like them nice and white. For $30, it's, I cooked bacon and eggs every day in it. It paid for itself at $30. So that's my view on those things. So I don't look at these kitchen gadgets, and I don't buy very expensive. You don't find me buying $500 KitchenAid mixers or some of the really ridiculously priced Gordon Ramsay things. I use the cheapest knives I can find from Sam's Club. They cost like those knives with the white handles that you see me using are $5. $5. I sharpen them a little and then throw them away and get new ones. It's expendable. I'd rather have good tools and have a much better chance of cooking perfect steaks, because the steaks are what really costs the money, not the cool cast iron. Triple tap is that tapped line. Cast iron and carbon steel are legacy kitchenware. Legacy kitchenware, and carbon steel is right in there with cast iron. They require a little more care. They're perfectly safe, no non-stick whatsoever. They have to just be kept seasoned. Generally, the cooking you do, once they're seasoned initially, will keep them that way. They all look dirty when you look down on them. They look black and dirty because that's the seasoning, and the more you cook at them, the better they get. And those things, you cannot hurt them. They will hurt you. Those are the things that you leave to your children and they leave to their children. But that's a different kind of thing that I'm talking about. I'm talking about things that plug into the wall. And but cast iron is great. I have I have two big, heavy cast iron things. The problem is, for me, I have a glass cooktop, and those things are so rough on the bottom that they can gouge up that glass cooktop. So I like the carbon steel better because it's perfectly smooth. Perfectly smooth. Jennifer has stainless steel. Stainless steel is great, but it's not non-stick. And I guess there are ways to season it, but I'd rather use the carbon steel. It just heats up so fast and evenly, and it's heavy and thick, and it holds heat like a cast iron pan does. And it's oven safe. You can like I did in that last video where I seared the steak off on in the hot carbon steel pan and the Dubai pan, and just put it in the oven to finish with the meter thermometer in it. Now that pan's about $100 pan. They're not cheap, but you buy them once. You buy them once, and I was in the restaurant business, and I can tell you that the best restaurants, especially the steakhouses, they cook in those kind of pans or on grills, just open grills. But you don't see them using cheap cookware in those places. But these things, you buy them. So even if you were to spend $200 or $300 in the course of a year on stuff to outfit your kitchen, look what you can do. We've got a limited number of different foods we can eat, and you won't, even though nobody can believe it, you won't get bored. You're not going to get bored doing this. I've had a lot of comments of people say, God, I see every time I look at your videos, you're making bacon and eggs. I do. 5 to 6 days a week, I make those bacon, and I could make them in my sleep. It's so automatic for me now. It's one of the reasons I can keep a train of thought and talk through those things. It's because I don't have to think about what I'm doing. I just do it. It's so easy to stay on this lifestyle. So easy. And the easier you make it for yourself in the kitchen, the less cleaning you have to do, the more you have to think about even preparing food, means the less you'll think about food in general, and your life becomes less food centric. Because when you look around at everybody else, that's all they're always thinking about. It's always the new restaurant, the new recipe. I'm supposed to eat 3 meals a day and 3 snacks a day. What am I going? That's 6 times. And then once before bed, that's 7 times. I have to figure out what I'm going to eat every 2 hours. God forbid I might be out on a highway on a 3-hour road trip. I better make sure that I have pre-planned to take some food along with me on that road trip, because God forbid that I should have to go 3 hours without having food right at my fingertips. I might starve to death. I might not be able to live through that. And that is, silly as it sounds, that's the mindset. That's what people think. Just watch them. Watch them in the supermarkets. If you want to, you don't have to even pay for entertainment anymore. Why would you pay to go to a movie or a theater? Just go to a supermarket and wander around and watch people shopping for this crap and look at what they have in there. If I didn't think that people would want to kill me if I was, I would go up and interview them like a man on the street interview. I wish I had the guts to do that. It would make for great videos. Find some person with a shopping cart overflowing with nothing healthy whatsoever in it, and especially some young woman with a family of children that she's feeding, and look at the garbage that she's feeding her children. And I would love to interview somebody like that has never heard of carnivore or keto, doesn't know any of this stuff. And I would question them, and I would say, I see that you have really gone out of your way to buy healthy food. Because everything she's got in her cart on the box says healthy. And it's brightly colored produce and peppers and tomatoes and boxes and juice and all that stuff. What she has in her cart is probably mostly sugar, but she thinks it's healthy. I'd love to talk to her without offending her and get some real answers about why does she think that what she's doing is healthy, and have her explain it to me, because that would be a very interesting insight into how brainwashed we are. It's terrible. It's terrible. So let's see. I was talking about comments. Yeah. So I was saying that I did get this comment. I went off on the air fryer tangent. I did this comment from a woman. She was disappointed in me because I have abandoned the Air Star after I recommended it, and so many people bought it, and now basically I'm trying to sell them something different, as if this is the Mitch Home Shopping Club. I bought one for myself to make sure I was recommending something good. On the day that it came back in stock, I get the message that said, well, one of your viewers just said they're in stock. I don't know why you're telling everybody they're out of stock. Anyway, that was another comment. And I got to tell you, I don't get mad at these things. I laugh at the irony of them. I can't even begin to talk about the comments I get every time I say the word evolution. I got one today that had me on the floor. I mean, absolutely rolling on the floor. This one said to me, I don't have the actual comment here, but I am paraphrasing it. And I think I left out a few other points that he criticized. But basically he said, you are doing everything wrong when you cook your steak. That's how it started. You shouldn't cook it in a frying pan. It's too raw in the center. You don't put enough seasoning on it. And he went on and on and on and told me all the things that I have learned not to do when I'm cooking a steak. I think I gave it a heart and didn't even answer it because I can't debate. I can't debate these people. First of all, I seared it in a carbon steel pan for 2 minutes and I finished it in the oven. That is probably one of the finest ways to cook a steak, other than sous vide, which also gets seared in carbon steel or cast iron or some other good frying pan. That's not wrong. When it's red or rare in the center is the way a steak is the best. Some people, if they have any leftover steak, the way they eat it, they can make new soles for their shoes out of it. It's so tough. They cook the hell out of it. So if somebody out there thinks that the only way to cook a steak is, over well, and that, I don't know, maybe how's he going to cook it? Barbecue? I don't know. But they tell me I'm wrong. I mean, and they don't hesitate to tell me I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why all you guys listen to me, tell you the truth. One comment told me they were glad. Oh, this is funny. This is really funny. Remember, I've done 2 videos making these pork crumb coated wings. The first ones I made in the Z-Star. And I had gotten the old idea from a Shake and Bake commercial. Remember Shake and Bake? You remember? Are you old enough to remember the Shake and Bake commercial? Little kid saying, "Shake and bake, and I helped." And you'd get this bag, and it'd have this coating in it, and a box, and in the box was a plastic bag, and you put the food in the bag, and you put the coating in the bag, and you shake it up, and it evenly coats whatever it is, chicken, pork chops, or whatever you put in the bag. So I thought, well, that'd be a great idea to coat these chicken wings with the pork rind crumbs. So I took the bag, I beat up the eggs, and I poured them into the bag. No, what I did was I didn't pour the eggs in the bag. I put the pork rind crumbs in the bag. I dipped the chicken in the egg, then put it in the bag and shook it. And it did a pretty good job for the first 2 or 3 wings until the actual pork rinds from the egg started to clump up and stick together. It just wasn't. And when I got past half of the wings, it wouldn't even work anymore. I would have had to have started with another bag because all I had was a doughy mess of pork rind crumbs in there because it had taken so much egg off of the chicken. So this time, lately, I never did that again. I started just spreading it out on the plate, dipping the things in egg and putting them down and then sprinkle a little more top. That worked great. So I've had 4 or 5 different comments telling me that I should be doing it the other way. But I meant people that have watched the old video comment that I shouldn't shake them in a bag, I should do them on a plate. And people that have watched the new video tell me you shouldn't do them on a plate, you should shake them in a bag. I can't win. I guess like everybody else in the world, you can't please everybody. But I get these things every day. Get these kinds of comments every day. I normally don't answer. I don't answer them because I don't want to start a debate. So if you do put a comment in there, it's getting more and more and more time consuming for me every day to try to keep up with this stuff. Sometimes you'll notice I might answer one 2 minutes after you put it in, because sometimes I actually get the notification on my phone, and when I get it, I generally look at it, and if it's something I can answer right then, I do. Other times it might be the next day or 8 hours before I see it in this long list of comments. But I promise you, I will always try to give you the respect of reading your comments and at least making a heart on it so you know that I've seen it, because nobody else can put a heart other than the person that put out the video. And to tell you, I so much, I appreciate the time that you take to write most of these comments, because most of them are, they just make me feel good. They're so incredibly flattering. I blush. I want to say, "Aw shucks," you know. And I don't read them because I have to read them. I read them because I like to read them. I like to read them. I'm going to try to come up with more recipes. I'm going to try to get a little inventive here and try to come up with maybe things that are a little variation to add a little interest. Although I don't seem to need it, but a lot of people like a little bit of variation, but not to imitate addictive foods, not to have a version of pizza or any kind of cookie look-alike or anything like that, but just some way of preparing the limited number of things that we can eat on carnivore. Like the chicken wings with the pork rind crumbs. I'm going to try to find other things that are really neat and tasty to do with those pork rind crumbs. I love them. And just as an aside also, Amazon has a few different manufacturers of those things, and those things, like the air fryer, sometimes come and go. Something that was there yesterday is unavailable today. And I've switched back and forth between two different brands. As soon as they become unavailable, I'll switch to the other one. One of them is the one called Pork Panko. That's the one I used in this last video. That one is, and that's the one I have the link to now on my website. And that one is unseasoned. And all I did for those wings was just put 2 or 3 shakes of the Redmond's real salt in with the egg before I beat the egg up. And there was no other seasoning whatsoever. I think those pork rind crumbs might be a little salty on their own, but I just put a little bit of salt. It was seasoned perfectly. Seasoned perfectly. And it didn't need any of the buffalo wing sauce or any of the other crap, that sugary crap and stuff that they put on these wings everywhere you go out and buy them. But that's how we've become accustomed to eating. I found the longer that I do this without vegetables, without sugar, without anything, the better and better the food tastes. Bacon, to me now, it's like crack. The taste of it is, it just once you take a deep breath, sigh, and just revel in it. Even an omelet cooked in bacon grease, just the flavors that I never realized were in there. They don't need to be enhanced or masked by condiments or anything else. You learn to just enjoy them. Your body knows they're good for it, and it rewards you by providing that sense of fabulous taste that encourages you to eat more of those things that it knows are healthy. I see Donna says the Pork King has seasoning. That was my next thought before I got off on another tangent. Excuse me. You know what? I ought to do this. I mean, this is. Excuse me while I drink my coffee. That's become a real thing. Oh, man. I'm sorry. I know there's 10,000 unemployed comedians in this country right now, but I'm still hopeful. I'm My son says, wow, he even drinks coffee with music. I mean, guys, this is important stuff we're talking about. This is life and death, health, revolution, underground. The stuff that we talk about is so out of the normal, and it's so serious that I I have to cut up every once. I just can't be that serious. If I will get depressed if I stay that serious. So I just have to relax. That's why I like these live streams. I'm not filming anything. I can't edit it out. If I make a mistake, I'm stuck with it, but I don't care. I don't care. I'm just a guy. I'm just a person like all you other people out there. I'm just trying to spread the word a little bit. I have the time to do it, so, and I have very few other responsibilities. I don't have, my kids and grandkids are all grown. I don't have a wife. I have children who I talk to, but I'm not really a part of their lives. And so I have this time, and I wanted to try to do something helpful and make a few extra bucks. Not, make a lot doing this, but look, these days every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. And I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I've always been a photographer. Always been into photography and cinematography. I've always loved to edit. I've loved the technical part when I had this as a drone channel. Just building these complex little flying machines, and I would have 4 or 5 hour live streams with cameras overhead and close-up cameras so I could teach people how to solder and program flight controllers and do all that stuff. And I just enjoy it. I enjoy it. I enjoy the detail like that. Now I'm trying to do it with Carnivore. And because it works, and I'm so excited that it works, that I want to spread the word. I liken it to an evangelist. But anyway, here we are. Let me take a look at. I don't see any QQQs running through in the chat here. Marlo says, every time you play that music, it reminds me of a wonderful film. What is that? Yelling. I don't know what that word is. Might be a typo. Comedy called The Lady Killers, 1985. Who was in that? I don't remember. It sounds familiar. Angels says it saved her life, saved his life, or whether it's a man or a woman. Ketosis has to kick in when the body has learned to burn fat. I see that you brought up ketosis. I've talked about that. I'll tell you who you don't hear talking about ketosis. You don't hear Sean Baker talking about measuring ketones and being in ketosis. You don't hear Anthony Chafee talking about, hardly ever hear the word ketone come out of his mouth. You very rarely hear Ken Berry talk about ketones. You hear Annette Bosworth, Dr. Boz, her whole thing revolves around ketones, and that's her method, and she's got just a ton of followers, and she's doing them a lot of good. So I can't say there's nothing to her method, but she's a keto person trying to learn how to deal with some carbs. But if you're dealing with no carbs, and I mean you're honestly dealing with no carbs, and not deluding ourselves saying, well, these little carbs, they don't count really. The only carbs that we eat that we can actually say we don't need to worry about or count are carbs we can't do anything about, like the carb that might be in an egg, the 1 gram or whatever. It's just there. I mean, and even in meat, you're going to have a trace amount of carbohydrate because, muscle has glycogen in it, and that's basically a carb. But it's not what our body sees as a diet, like a dietary sugar. And I don't think it's causing insulin spikes and certainly not causing sugar cravings. And those are the carbs I'm talking about, because that's our problem, is trying to heal this addiction that we have. And not eat things that trigger our cravings. I don't know if you ever noticed it, how a craving, how insidious it is, how it comes on, how the slightest little thing will trigger and push it to the front of your consciousness, where you really hadn't even been paying any attention. You hadn't been thinking about donuts or pizza or anything like that. But some little thing, maybe it was a TV commercial, or maybe you walked by a bakery and got a whiff of it, or maybe somebody walking down the street munching on a donut or something. And the problem is, you can't escape that stuff unless you hide under your bed all day, because it's everywhere. It's everywhere, every billboard, just get in your car and drive. You can't go, every corner, every convenience store. It's just everywhere. You can't even buy gasoline without being tempted by sugar. So, but if it wasn't for these triggers, you probably would not even think about it. But we do get triggered. We do get triggered, and we think about it. And it starts out as just a glimpse, a little thought, and then you start thinking about it more, and then you start getting physiological feelings from it. Maybe your stomach starts to rumble, or you start to feel weak, like, God, I need some sugar. And all that time, your body is actually making biochemical changes, putting mechanisms into action to get ready for this sugar. We've talked about that cephalic phase response, where insulin gets pumped into your blood in anticipation of this. And it just builds up and builds up and builds up until you cannot resist it. And I saw somebody mention it in the chat, when you get hungry, just eat meat. And that's why you need to act fast when the first inklings of these cravings happen to you. You need to have something ready to eat. And you should keep doing that for the first month or two. After a month or two, the cravings aren't going to bother you, hardly at all, if you've managed to stick to it. But it only takes one cheat day or one cheat meal to take you back to square one again. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I remember coming up, they had so many different diet methodologies, and so many people recommending so many things, and everybody had a book, and every diet had some gimmick to it. And one guy had a diet that basically you pretty well ate 500 calories a day, Monday through Friday. And then over the weekend, no limits. And his philosophy was, you can't gain enough weight in 2 days of unlimited eating to offset the weight you'll lose in 5 days of starving yourself. And back then, you'd say, that's logical. Because it was all calories in and calories out. And, they did the math on that, and by God. So what you had was a whole bunch of people that, if they even got through the first week of starving themselves, once they got to the weekend and binged out on all that crap sugar food, they were done. There was no way they were going to go back to starving themselves on Monday, and it was over. They ended up gaining 20 pounds from the little adventure, and that didn't work, and it went away. But there's been so many ways to cheat our natural rhythms and biology and everything. And of course, back then in the 50s and 60s and 70s, we didn't know so much of the biochemistry that we do. We didn't know that much about genetics. We knew what genetics accomplished. We knew that when a man and a woman married and had a baby, the baby had half of the father's genetics and half of the mother's. Okay, But we hadn't sequenced the human genome yet. We hadn't identified all of the 25,000 genes that code for the different proteins. We didn't know what all of those different proteins did, what jobs they did. We had no idea how it worked. What was the machinery of life? We didn't know, but we know on an order of magnitude more now than we did even 20, 30 years ago. And we've demystified so much of it. And there are people that do understand this new level of demystification, but not most people. Most people are still stuck in the mindset of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and they still believe the same old calories in, calories out, eat less, move more. Everything in, anything in moderation, balanced diet. That stuff is gospel. Unfortunately, we can't change people's minds. We know so much more. And those of us that are actually sticking to it, not deviating. I have not eaten a gram of sugar in a year and 7 months. There are people out there who can say the same thing for 10 years, 5 years, 7 years. I think Sean Baker's been 7 years. I think Anthony Chafee is the same. I can tell you, the more you do it, the more foreign all that stuff gets to you, and the more natural this way of eating actually feels. And it gets so natural that it's almost an unconscious thing. You don't have to consciously think about food. You just keep certain foods around, and yeah, I've got it pretty well down. I know that when it gets to be 11, 12 o'clock, I'm going to have bacon and eggs. And then I have a few other proteins in the refrigerator. I might have some hamburger thawed. I might have a steak in there. Might have some wings in there. Maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, I might treat myself to make some salmon cakes. One day, instead of putting bacon in my omelet, I'll put sardines in it, and I'll mix it up a little bit. If I ate organ meat, I'd throw a little bit of that in, but I don't. But I stay away from any of the spices. I don't eat pepper. Richard CD Driver says, "Hey Mitch, how much coffee do you drink in a day?" I drink. Today's when I do these live streams, it's kind of an oddball day. I have 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and I use the Keurig thing. So however much is in one of those K cups, I have 2 cups of that first thing in the morning, and that's usually early in the morning. And then some days I have no more coffee. Coffee is an associated habit like so many things. And when you do a certain activity, you just have a cup of coffee. That's why a lot of people, when they quit smoking, have to give up coffee, because the act of having a cup of coffee almost demands that they have a cigarette with it. So until they kick the nicotine addiction, they have to give up the coffee, which makes it harder because then they have to give up caffeine too. But I have 2 cups of caffeine, and if I have any more, it's going to be decaf. And the most I'll have, this is my 4th. I had one cup mid-afternoon and then of decaf, and then I have this cup here, which is getting cold, or is cold. Rosie Red. Oh, they're talking to each other. Stress is a killer. Somebody said exercise. Kay says, "I'm not retiring, can't afford it. Life is better with butter. Evening is my danger time." Sandra McDonald. That's a habit. That's a habit. That's not even, that's pure habit. Big difference. Big difference between an addiction and a habit. A lot of times the two of them are associated with each other. But an addiction is a substance and a habit is a routine. They say you can break any habit in a couple of weeks to a month by changing your routine. So many of the addictive things that we're addicted to are associated with habits. So whenever you perform whatever this habit is, the addictive substance is part of the routine. It becomes part of the habit. But you have to recognize, and eating at night is not a biological need. If you've eaten enough meat and fat during the day, you have no need for food at night. It's not real hunger. It's just habit. The same kind of a habit as you can't go to a movie theater and not have a 55-gallon drum of popcorn in your lap. It's just what you do. Or a 64-ounce Coke. I mean, it's part of the experience. Beer. I'm watching these TV shows. These any kind of TV show, any kind of serial story, like Chicago Fire or things like that. And they have the same characters in them. They have a whole big, huge cast of characters, and each character's got their own story arc. Half the show's about them fighting fires, and the other half the show is about the personal story arcs of and romantic relationships between the different characters and their daily lives that they go about. And you notice these things that are accepted in our society as normal, and they have to put them in the TV show or else people won't think it's realistic. One of the things, for example, is you never see a woman at home entertain in the evening talking to anybody without a glass of wine in her hand. You never see two guys get together for any kind of a talk without one of them saying, "Want a beer?" The answer is always yes. The first guy always goes to the refrigerator, gets 2 bottles of beer out, and they seem to never pop top cans of those things, always out of a glass bottle with a twisty lid. And they can't even have a conversation without a beer. There's always empty wine bottles sitting somewhere. They can't go out to a restaurant without having a bottle of wine. These things, we don't need these things. These things are not good for us. We don't need them, but we need them socially. We need them. We need them to complete the experience, because that's what the experience is. And I think about this sometimes. If you're a sports fan and you go to a stadium to see a live game, the food and drink is probably more important to you than the actual game itself. You can tell by the concession stands. The vendors walking up and down the aisles between, up the steps between the seats, selling everything under the sun to eat. People just can't even imagine going 30 minutes without food being available, or they panic. Now we know that all this alcohol isn't good for us, and yet look at the amount of alcohol consumed by people every day. You could float a cruise ship with this stuff. Look at a ship. Look at a cruise. Look at a cruise. People, when they go on a cruise, the unlimited, non-stop, 24/7 eating and drinking. Oh, you always got a few of the health nuts that while you're sitting lounging out there, roasting yourself in the sun, they're jogging around the promenade deck. But last cruise I went on, they had a huge, gorgeous gym on this huge boat. It was the Freedom of the Seas. This was a big boat. And I went in the gym, and there weren't 3 people in there. And they had a steam room down in the locker room. And I love sauna and steam, and I went into the steam room every day and never saw another soul in there. These people were all eating and drinking and partying. That's what our life has become. We have bought into this, and it has become social normal. It's almost rude when you're entertaining, to not offer somebody something that is bad for their health, be it food or drink. Can you imagine if you had a cocktail party? Well, cocktail party says it all. It's all about the cocktails. If you had a party, you invited a bunch of friends over, and all you served them was cubed up air fried pork belly, how popular do you think you would be as a host? What's to drink? Well, I got this San Pellegrino seltzer. Have one of these. See if, pop the top. That's a good replacement for beer, isn't it, John? John, come back, John. No. We have to unlearn so much to do this. It is about so much more than just what can I eat, when should I eat it, what supplements should I take. And it's so much to change what we're used to, especially if what we were used to has caused us a lot of damage that we're trying to reverse. Imagine if this was the way we ate. Imagine if this was the normal, like it was for hundreds of thousands of years of our ancestors. Imagine if this was the normal thing and you had never known what a jelly donut tasted like. You never knew what a pizza was. You never knew anything except we're having bison or mammoth for dinner tonight. You wouldn't miss any of that stuff. The norm would be, when's Dad coming home with the big animal? But our norm over the past 100 years or more has become what it is today. So we're not just changing the way we eat. We're changing our lives. We're changing what we do for entertainment. We're changing our priorities. And I hate to say this, one of the things that makes it the hardest for so many of you is you don't fit in anymore. And correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me in the chat here, how many of you feel like a social outcast because you have decided to become a carnivore and not eat all that other stuff? You understand what I'm saying? And those changes are as hard to deal with and come to terms with as just having your body adjust its physiology to this different fuel that you're giving it now. Now, for me, Rosie agrees with me. She said she's a social outcast. For me, I hate to say I've always been a social outcast, but I've never been a social animal because I've always had very little in common with most people. I live alone. I only worked for myself, so I didn't really have friends at work. I had employees, and you have to be careful when you have employees to maintain a certain distance. And I've always been the loner all my life. So I did not have to change my whole life. But all of my neighbors, I live in a 55 plus community here. Most of them are married. Most of them are unhealthy. Most of them are younger than me and much sicker than me. And a married couple, their life consists of spending half their time going to doctors and labs and drugstores and doing things, and the other half of their time going to parties and hanging out by the pool and eating and drinking all day. I have nothing in common with these people. I have nothing to talk about. If I start talking about carnivore, I get this deer in the headlights look. I've had a couple of them actually try to start it. The longest any one of them lasted was 3 or 4 days before I caught them at the pool munching Doritos again. So I'm happy I stick to myself. I have you guys. I have a large circle of friends now, especially those of you that come and visit with me every Tuesday night. And that's a main reason why I do this as well. Wellman 867 loves the Ninja. I think either one of them. If you want to spend a little less money and get the Z Star, that's a great air fryer. The Ninja seems to be a living up to the hype, and either one, whatever. I don't think they're going to run out of stock with the Ninja. The Z Star is not as tall, and the way they're built, the position of the motor, the dome inside, the way it's covered with, I guess it's stainless steel. They're not similar enough that they've been copied, but I think that style-wise, they're almost identical. Almost identical. Jennifer says, "Yes, you do, Mitch. Carnivore community here for you. Thank you." Yeah, I feel like you guys are my new best friends. That Wellman, want to try the Wright's bacon? Yeah, that stuff is outrageous. God, it's so good. Some people tell me, well, it's sugar. You know, they cure it in a little sugar. They put a little sugar in the cure, but they wash all that off before they package it. And these things are almost a 1/4 inch thick per slice, and there's 0 carbs in a slice. So that means it's legally less than half a gram. I eat 4 or 5 slices of that every day and never had the first sugar craving or desire to eat anything sweet from it. So I know there's not enough sugar in there to trigger, because I'm easily triggered. One blueberry will trigger me into a binge of a 3-pound bag of blueberries. So if it doesn't trigger me, maybe I'm getting better or getting over it, but if it doesn't trigger me, there's not enough sugar to worry about it. And that bacon does not, but it just tastes so good. And I don't think it's hurting me. It almost sounds ridiculous to me when I say I weighed 138 pounds this morning, 5'10". And everybody tells me that I'm too skinny, but I certainly don't look any thinner than any healthy young person my height. Never been an athlete, so I'm not a big muscular, bulky guy. I have a very light frame, thin bones, but whatever. 138 pounds is still within what they say is a normal weight range for my age. My BMI is about 20. And I'm very happy with this, but I don't consciously try to do anything about my weight. I let my weight do what it wants to do. And we were talking about ketones a little earlier. I never finished that thought. I said that none of the other guys even talk about it on Carnivore, and I think on Carnivore you can forget all about ketones, because if you're not eating any carbohydrate, your body is going to do what it wants to do. If you become a fat burner, the ketones will be there when your body needs them, and when they won't be there when your body doesn't need them. And trying to micromanage all of these different functions of our body, the hundreds or thousands of them, to try to monitor them, which you can't do. We've learned how to monitor your sugar now with a CGM, but even trying to keep track of that, it's bouncing all over the place. Let your body do what it knows how to do. Obviously, all your ancestors' bodies knew how to do it because they lived and you're here. Let your body do it. Don't worry about ketones. Who cares? Unless you're diabetic or you're broken, something's wrong, you don't need to be sticking yourself and testing your blood 6 times a day. If you're sick and you're trying to recover, yeah, you probably have to do that for a while. And if you have a, and you need a doctor for that kind of stuff. But we are not made to require doctors. Nowhere in our history is there any evidence that without a doctor a human being couldn't live a healthy life. We don't need a doctor. We need to eat the right. We just need to nourish ourselves and stay out of the way of, stampeding animals that don't run us over. I've always said modern medicine is a great thing, but we're at a point right now where I think we're de-evolving. The average lifespan is decreasing. It's been said that my children, will be the first generation that won't live as long as their parents. And that's sad. That's why I made that cradle to grave video with the baby formula to ensure. Because it just goes to show you that there's a corner boy selling drugs right outside the door of the delivery room of the hospital to make sure that you get your kid addicted to the stuff that they intend to sell you the rest of your life as early as possible. They even go so far as to give you reasons why mother's milk is bad for you, which goes along with the fat is bad. And I made a point about that in the film, is that they took the fat and cholesterol that is some of the most important things an infant needs from breast milk and made sure to brag about the fact that they took it out of the baby formula and replaced it with sugar and seed oil, because everybody knows vegetable oil is much better for you than that evil saturated animal fat. And that's what we know. That's what we as a society know. And along comes a few of us who are saying, wait a minute, at least the guys on South Park understand this. Have anybody out there a South Park fan? I love South Park. I think it's a little irreverent and a little dirty for those of you that don't like that stuff. But South Park did an episode about the food pyramid. Johnny Drone Flyers here. How you doing, Johnny? Good to see you. I need to pay more attention to the chat. Sorry, guys. Okay, says she got into I think you're a woman. I guess you must be if you got into a size 4, or else you're a tiny little guy. But MK says, I got into a size 4 and stay there. Yeah, I got my waist down to a 32. I used to have a 42 inch waist. So I got down, my waist is a 32. Got down to 138 pounds every day. And I've stayed there for over a year now. I didn't throw them away. I took them to the Goodwill, but piles of clothes. God, so many clothes. What was I talking about? I was off on something. That's why I have to finish a thought before I start reading the chat, get a new thought. Oh, South Park. There we go. Viking loves South Park. Yeah, that's right. Excuse me while I drink my water. That's like dentist office music. South Park did an episode where they turned the food pyramid upside down. And I don't remember if it was Eric Cartman or who it was that started screaming that it's upside down, it's upside down. And they actually did an episode about that. And of course, we carnivores would understand what they were getting at, but I don't think the average public got it. I don't think they caught on. I don't think they're even aware. So many of them don't even know what the food pyramid is. I've done a lot of videos about how we got here, how that whole food pyramid thing came into being. It came from originally from the United States Department of Agriculture, whose job it is to make sure the farmers grow all this stuff. And they ended up with huge surpluses of grains. And right about in the late 70s, when they were having their meetings to decide what they should recommend to us as the healthiest diet known to man, they had such a surplus of grains they couldn't sell. Originally, the story goes that, and you just have to watch Nina Teicholz's stuff or Gary Taub telling the stories and showing the evidence of this. That supposedly they were going to recommend 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 servings of whole grains every day, but they had so much of this stuff surplus, they upped it to between 6 and 11 servings of whole grains, which pretty much make up the base of the food pyramid now. So they've got us eating grass. In case those of you who don't know, that's what most of the grain family are in the grass family. That's food for cows. It's not food for humans. That's food for the animals that we eat. And they deemed that that was healthy. And then they started processing this stuff, which made it even faster absorbing. And when they finally came up with this thing they called the glycemic index, they were able to differentiate how quick some of this sugar got from your mouth into your bloodstream. And they found out that the more powdered you make something, the faster it will be absorbed and dissolved. That means everything baked with flour is going to go right into your bloodstream. And everything we eat now comes with that. Hey, B-Matt, thank you so much, my friend. Very nice of you. I appreciate it. No question, no nothing, just a gift. Thanks again. Thanks again. Very nice of you. I appreciate it. Where was I? I was talking about the glycemic index. And dieting, if you never heard of a meat-only diet. Through my whole entire life, there was no such thing. Carnivore didn't exist. Even keto. The closest we got was Atkins. And Atkins allowed for a huge number of carbohydrates compared to what we have today. But he was more a whole food diet. And out of Atkins came the Zone, and it was 30%, 30%, third, a third, and a third. Third fat, third protein, third carbs was Barry Sears' deal with the Zone diet. And then out of the Zone diet came the Mediterranean diet. Because they said, well, these people over, in Italy and Greece, and they're healthy. France, they don't have the heart disease, but they weren't eating the processed food. So and they are healthy, and they're not sugar addicts, and they're not eating processed food, or maybe they are today, but they weren't 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and they can be healthy. They live long lives, and most of them are not obese. But as soon as all the chain stores and chain restaurants started opening up places all over the world, and you started to find McDonald's in Rome, and you started in Japan and everything else, that processed food just started spreading, and most of that processed food was sugar, grains, and seed oils. And the world's health is going down the tubes. But there was no carnivore. Can you imagine somebody coming up to you 20, 30 years ago saying you can only eat, beef and water. You can't, you'd put them away. You'd have the men in the white coats come and take them to a padded room somewhere. You can't, it would be unthinkable. And yet here we are. So we've come a tremendously long way in the past 10 years. 10 years. 10 years ago, Ken Berry was a family doctor that weighed 300 pounds. We have only just discovered this. And you and I are really part of one of the first trials, even though we're each doing our own individual trial, of a hypothesis that says we should be eating only meat and avoiding everything else. And it is a radical thing. And it makes us different, and like I said, it makes us outcasts. And we each have to learn, if we want to do this, well, the first thing we have to do is convince ourselves that we're benefiting from it, because why would you continue to do something that you know you're not benefiting from? We need to learn how to live with the societal effects of what we have to give up as far as our social lives and entertainment. Even dating, for instance. You're a single man trying to date. Look at the crimp. This is half 90% of the women you might have as potential dates will think you're out of your friggin' mind. Will think that there's something wrong with you, and they don't want any part of that. And if you try to date them and let them eat the stuff they want to eat and drink the stuff they want to drink in front of you, and you think you're going to be happy just sticking to your part of it, it's even worse than the problem that you have with your family not going along with you now, because they're stuck with you. But somebody, when they're courting and dating, to have to deal. So maybe, what would be a good name for a carnivore dating website? It would be interesting. I don't think there'd be too many players involved, too many potential matches out there. But God, I haven't thought about dating in years. But if I had to think about dating again or looking for a partner, I would have to have another carnivore. There's no way in hell I could put up with that. You think I'm going to, marry somebody and let them bring all that crap into my house and I have to be around it? It just won't work. Carnivore copy. No, come on, man. Come on, behave. The S111. See, you guys have a great sense of humor. Maybe carnivore does that to you as well. That's funny. Our kids are silly. They think we are not letting them enjoy their childhood. Well, that's just it. We're so conditioned to equate. We equate happiness with junk food and addictive substances. That's our definition of happiness. These kids don't understand what it's like to enjoy nature and get out in the sun. They bury themselves in their cell phones, stuff in their face with something out of a cellophane bag that's full of sugar, seed oils, and grains. I still marvel every time I walk into Sam's Club, through those aisles and aisles and aisles with the pallets. They bring them in by, not like a grocery store where they just stock a shelf. It's brought in by the forklifts in pallets of Cheez-Its, Oreo cookies. And then they have one whole section of the store stacked up to the ceiling in breakfast cereal, pallets of extra big size boxes of every kind of breakfast cereal known to man. Dana says she's right here. I'm flattered, Dana. Thank you. BK, My girlfriend started carnivore because she saw me losing weight and got much better health and started with me on carnivore. That's great, and that's how you. That seems to be what it takes to move people. Is they say, "What the hell happened to you?" But that hasn't happened to me yet. Of course, I don't get out a lot. I don't mingle with a lot of people, but I have, the people that know me. They look at me. These are, people in their late 50s, 60s, early 70s, and they look at me and they think I'm sick. Yeah, you're too skinny. You need to put on some weight. You need to come to the party and eat all this crap we're eating. They're convinced they're doing it right because they think they're just eating a balanced diet and everything in moderation. And when somebody says that to me, I say, how about arsenic? Is that okay in moderation? Hemlock tea in moderation? No. I see a Meatstock Music Festival someday, says Chris. Yeah, Chris Kong. Yeah, it brings up another point. A couple of people have been suggesting that they think a carnivore restaurant would be a big success. I have mixed feelings about that. I was in the restaurant business for a while, right before the 2008 crash. I always seem to build businesses that have great potential and then right before crashes happen, but got to keep going. I had a fish and chips, seafood stuff, but also it wasn't just a joint. It was a nice restaurant and nicely decorated in a beautiful location, and we served steaks and we served lobster. I mean, we had everything from a grouper sandwich on up to some of these seafood platters with shrimp, lobster, and scallops. We had a lot of the fried stuff was funny back then. I had 3 80-pound fryers, 3 huge fryers in the kitchen, and what did we fill them full of? Canola oil. And this was almost 20 years ago. This was back in 2005, 2006 when we were putting that deal together. And we were told by everybody and anybody when we wondered what oil should we use. Yeah, canola oil. And they actually had a brand of canola oil that I bought called NutriFry. Honest to God, look it up. That was the name of it. NutriFry. And it said healthy all over the box. I mean, it was supposed to be that. We put it on our menu, bragging about the fact that we cared enough to make our fried shrimp and our fried grouper sandwiches and fry it in an oil that was much more expensive than just plain canola oil. And it was expensive. Called NutriFry because it was so healthy. I had no idea. None of us did back then. And then we didn't use breading, we used batter. We used batter to batter the fish and the shrimp when we fried them. And we even bought a batter it's called Drake's. And this is restaurant stuff. I mean, it would come in 5-pound sacks like sugar, like a big bag of sugar, a paper sack. This Drake's. And we used to take, and you talk about, oh God. You know what tempura is, how they fry things in Japanese restaurants. It was almost like that. And we had the best seafood, I think, in Orlando in that little joint of mine. Unfortunately, we had no customers because the economy was crashing around us, and we were in a brand new development that never got built completely. So we fell with that, but I learned a lot about it, but I had no idea about nutrition or anything. I honestly had no idea about these seed oils and about what we were coating that stuff with. But God, whatever we had, some scientist somewhere had made it so addictive and so wonderful to eat that you couldn't get enough of it. And unfortunately, that's the modus operandi of the entire food industry these days. Is just keep making it tastier and more addictive, and just keep coming up with new and revolutionary ways to package sugar, seeds, and grain oils. And it's big business, and we can't stop that. So we do what we do. We do what we do. We have each other. We talk about these things. We compare notes. A lot of us make videos when we come up with ideas. Some of them are good. Some of them maybe a little meaningless. And we hope that, like I just saw in the chat, that somebody will look at you someday and say, wow, what happened to you? And you tell them, and they say, I think I might want to do that because that's the only way it's ever going to grow. And I think it's happening. I think it's happening. I think it's happening by the sheer number of new people on YouTube talking about their carnivore experience. And certainly the way my little channel's growing. So we've been at it for 1 hour and 47 minutes, and I think I'm just rambling now, so I think it's about time to wrap it up. Anybody got any last minute questions for me? Oh, here's one. QQQ. Mitch, you are lucky your government signed the no fake meat in your state. That's awesome. Yeah. They're waking up. They are waking up. Consumers aren't buying that stuff anyway. I mean, the market, if you stop brainwashing people, the market should dictate what people are going to buy. And they're not going to buy that at Beyond Meat. They buy it to make a political statement, not because how wonderful it is. And people only do that so much. So I'm not worried about that. This cultured meat stuff is even worse. That's just, they're growing bacteria slime is what they're growing. It's not meat. It has nothing that even resembles what's in meat. I think Barry or Sean Baker said there's at least 50,000 compounds, different chemical compounds in red meat, a lot of which haven't even been identified yet. But they get the young kids. They link it to climate change and all that. Save the planet. We keep going like we're going. I wonder what the hell we saving the planet for. Nobody's going to want to live here. We keep going like we're going. So many are ignorant about fake meat. Yes, Ken Berry. They talk a lot about that. Yeah, somebody said put QQQ. I think I mentioned that, but I see Viking put a question. Is the music you play Mozart? I don't know. I have no idea what that is. It's called the Celebrated Minuet. And I went, when I started my drone channel, I found this website that has nothing but public domain music. All of this music that I play was recorded by people who pretty much do it as a hobby. Just like when we put these videos out on YouTube, we give everybody. You want to take a piece of my video and stick it in your video? You can, because we give you YouTube. We check a box that says, somebody want to do that, they can. It's public domain. If I was a big named celebrity, and I'd be worried about protecting every word that came out of my mouth and getting paid for it. But that's not why we do this. Well, a lot of people just have a passion to make music, and they make great music, and they release it to the public. It's not copyrighted, and you can use it anywhere. Some of them require attribution for it. You need to put, like in a video, if you use their music, you need to put in the comments the name of the song and the person. But most of the music I have it doesn't require that. So basically, I don't ever have to worry about getting a copyright strike from YouTube on any of this music I play. And I just went through hundreds, if not 1,000 of these different things and just downloaded the ones I thought I might want to use. And I have music that portrays every mood you can imagine. I have music that you would picture thundering herds of animals and people, marching off to war. I have music that'll make tears come to your eyes. It's so sad. I have music, and I have all these different. And when I made these drone videos, I used this different music to create moods, because that's how it's used in entertainment. You watch a TV show or a movie, when they want you to cry, the music that they play plays a huge part in a sad scene, or the triumphant music. I mean, music triggers emotion in human beings like nothing else. And I had all this music, and I have a small library of classical stuff that I downloaded to, and what I'll do is when I'm making a video, I'll actually, while I'm editing, just keep trying different music to see what seems to be the most appropriate. And one day I was trying to figure out a better kind of music to fit in with my egg beating than what was like lounge music at first. And I said, I wonder if classical would work there. So I tried it, and I said, that's it. It just fit. It just added something to it. So that kind of stuck. And that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun of this. I don't know. It might be Mozart. I like classical music, but I'm not like some people who could not only tell you who it was, but which opus or etude or whatever it was. Chris King says, have a cigar, come in here. Dear boy, have a cigar. You're going. That sounds familiar. Check out the band tool. What is that? Check out the band tool specific songwriting too. Yes, especially the lyrics. I don't know what, Mike, I don't know what that means. So, Boccherini, says Viking. Did you Google it? I suppose I could have done that. Anyway, I really like it. In fact, I'm going to use that song as an exit song. I usually use this one here, Raining in My Heart. And because I like that. I love blues. But tonight I think I will exit with this. It's had a little class. Anyway, guys, it's almost 10 o'clock. I'm going to take the rest of the day off. Appreciate you all coming in. We still got 140 of you here. This was one of my best attended nights. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't bore the pants off you or scare you away. I appreciate that. I appreciate the love. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time. I did. Those of you who love me so much that you've joined my private community, I will see you guys on Thursday. And the rest of you, I'll see you again Tuesday. But we'll keep the videos coming out, so keep giving me hell if I got anything else. I don't know if I know how to handle it. So, I see somebody in the chat likes the blues. Well, we're going to do this tonight. This is nice music. Have I finished my coffee? No, I've got one gulp left. All right, thanks again, everybody. I really appreciate it. Had a good time. Always have a good time in these things. Thanks for all of the interaction. Thanks for taking part in this. And you know what's coming. Take the rest of the day off. and eat meat.